Good afternoon, everyone. We'll get underway in just a couple of minutes. Just letting the last people log in. We were scheduled to start at 1:30, so we'll just wait a few more minutes. Thank you. And just while we're waiting for the others to log in, I'll just quickly check that everyone can see a presentation screen that should have the introduction slide, and you're all able to hear the audio that's coming through. All right, I think we might get underway now. We've given people a couple of extra minutes to log in. So I think we'll start with today's webinar. So thank you everyone for joining and taking time out of your day. Today we're presenting a webinar around the Grandstream remote work and collaboration solutions. We have on the panel with us today, we have Jazz from our technical support team. She'll be answering questions as people are typing them into the questions box. So obviously, as this is a webinar, any questions you wish to ask will have to be based on a text-based format. Jazz will be able to answer them as you're putting them forward. And then we'll also have Scott joining us from Alloy from their perspective. So I'll put this up quickly. I typically go through this. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. I'll go through it reasonably quickly. Grandstream was founded in 2002. We're a US-based and headquartered company. We have over 600 employees spread geographically across the globe. More than half of those are involved in R&D and product development, so very heavily skewed towards that. Our product portfolio covers categories such as business conferencing, IP phones, gateways and ATAs, networking devices, surveillance and facility access systems, and obviously our range of PBXs. Primarily, we have traditionally serviced the small to medium-sized businesses and consumer markets. More of our recent products have been starting to head up into larger businesses and starting to head up into the enterprise space. And over on the right-hand side, we've just got a quick little graphic there of where our workforce is spread geographically with Grandstream office environments. This one I don't use as often, but I think it's pretty appropriate given the current environments that we're all facing. So the Grandstream mission is we believe in connecting the world. We believe every business, large or small, should have the tools to communicate from anywhere on any device. And then, of course, we design products that make this belief become a reality. So very appropriate at the moment when we're all stuck from home or working from remotely. Very important that people can have the tools to communicate from anywhere on any device. So the agenda for today, we'll cover off some remote work considerations. We'll move into an overview of our remote solutions. Then we'll cover off around the remote meetings and conferences, we'll move into some remote VoIP solutions, remote Wi-Fi networking and VPNs, vertical solution examples, and then obviously we'll have just a general Q&A session at the end. So I guess the main thing to look at with the remote work consideration, a lot of the tech that we already have for a communications base already supports remote use. So what that basically means is looking at things in a different way. A lot of the time will allow us to work remotely with tools that we may already have. So a lot of it is not necessarily new technology. It's just looking at things and using technology in a different way to what we may be used to using it in. Businesses don't necessarily want to purchase equipment that they already have. So an important thing here is, both from an integrator perspective and from an end user perspective, the focus should be on equipment that a business may not have, and then obviously can complement their existing office solution later once they move back into the office environment. So things like that are, instead of maybe just putting the cheapest desk phone that we can on someone's desk at home, maybe look at things like a decked phone or a Wi-Fi cordless phone or a Wi-Fi based desk phone. These devices potentially can fill some communication gaps that they have in their office once they head back to the office, and can actually be a way to improve communications once you get back into the office environment. As we see here, Wi-Fi and decked endpoints, they're the most ideal for remote use. Not everyone necessarily, wherever they're going to put their desk at home, has a data cabling port or has the ability to run Ethernet cable. So looking at something that revolves around a mobile type solution lets you put that phone anywhere within someone's home environment and still be contactable and still be able to utilize it, rather than having to try and run 5, 10, 20 meter Ethernet cables. But the other thing to consider is all this technology that's being put out in your staff's homes and at remote places. You need to be able to remotely monitor and manage those devices. We'll cover that off in some later slides as to how you can do those sorts of things. This just is a very quick schematic of a wide range of remote solutions that you can put together from a Grandstream offering. So obviously, starting on the right-hand side at the top, we've got our range of UCMs, our PBXs. Moving around in a clockwise way, we've got our Android video phones, and then we've also got our GS Wave soft phone app. We've got Wi-Fi and decked cordless phone offerings. We've got desk phone offerings. We've got GDMS, which we'll cover off in a little bit more detail, networking, GWN cloud to manage the access points. And then over on the left-hand side, we've got our video conferencing or our web conferencing offering. So we have IP video talk. We have options to do that through existing devices that people have, be it a desktop, laptop, mobile. Then we also have dedicated room systems. And right down the bottom under the room systems, we've got the server sitting there. That is a server-based offering called IPVT10, which we'll cover off in some very high level later in the presentation. Some people may have seen it before, other people may not have seen it. So we'll cover off some basic details around that. Just touching on the IP video talk. Obviously today we're using IP video talk for this webinar. However, we're using it in a webinar mode compared to a video conferencing mode. So just showing that there is flexibility within that platform to be able to run either video conferencing or webinars if it is purely to push information out. So we can basically summarize into 3 categories. We've got meeting and conferencing offerings. we've got VoIP offerings, and then we've got network offerings. So we'll cover off the meeting and conferencing solutions first. So working remotely with IP Video Talk. So this is the platform that we're using today, and it allows remote team meetings, virtual classrooms, telehealth consultations, online fitness classes, all sorts of offerings and all sorts of ways that this can be used. Essentially, it allows people to meet and communicate remotely via a video platform. The ability is it can meet at any time on almost any device. So today, I'm sure there's a mixture of devices that people have connected on. Some might be on tablets, some might be on a laptop, some might be on a desktop, some might be on a mobile phone. You've all logged in and been able to log in using the equipment that you already have. It doesn't need anything specific. We have plans that will allow for up to 150 participants and 49 concurrent video feeds in that conference. Even our free basic plan, if we look at that, allows for 50 participants to be sitting in that video conference and up to 49 of them to be sending a video feed at the same time. So we can have a 50 participant conference with 49 people showing the video from their cameras at the same time, all on a free plan. We can have people attend on PC, Mac, Android, iOS, essentially utilizing the gear that they already have. We can provision things such as screen sharing, private and group chats. We can record them. We can put webinars up. We can have PSTN and VoIP dial-in numbers. We can have all this functionality. One of the latest features that we've just added is a whiteboarding functionality. So essentially allows you to put up a whiteboard, and you can then allow access to all participants to be able to make changes to what's being drawn or shown on that whiteboard. Or you can put up a PDF document, and then you can flag changes on that document in a whiteboard type environment. So allowing that full collaboration between people and allowing them to be able to have that interaction as if they were sitting in a single meeting room with a whiteboard up on the wall. And then obviously we can expand our IP Video Talk plans to integrate with our GVC series of dedicated video conferencing endpoints. As we move into here, so why would someone look at a video conferencing endpoint when we can do it just on any device? These devices, the GVC series devices, they're intended for a more formal type environment. So government departments, schools, courts, corporate environments where you have a dedicated room. There'll be a number of people sitting in that room. They'll be part of a conference, all sitting around, say, a boardroom table, but they'll be wanting to bring in people that are at a remote sites. So they'll use the dedicated room system, and then people will join in from the other end on whatever device they have. Our GVC devices support third-party SIP, H323. They also work with IP Video Talk and IPv4. Now the device shown below this picture is a GVC 3210. It's a high-end, in the current environment, home video conferencing solution. Typically, it would be used in an office, it would be used in a huddle room or a smaller boardroom, where what it allows people to do is put in a dedicated device that has inbuilt microphones. It has camera in there. It is designed to work with IP Video Talk and IPv4 and create a dedicated video conferencing endpoint. It'll support up to 4K resolution. It supports Wi-Fi and is also Android-based. Just an interesting little fun fact, that picture that's showing there is the Spanish Prime Minister. He is actually using Grandstream GVC's devices there to have a remote session with his parliament. So under the screen, we can see a GVC 3200, which is the video conferencing endpoint. On the desk in front of him, we've got a GAC 2500, which is one of our audio conferencing devices. Now we'll move into IPv4. So we've already discussed what IP Video Talk is, which is a cloud-based platform. IPv4 essentially is a server-based version of that. So it's designed for enterprises, school districts, hospitals, government departments, where what they're wanting to do is have a fully functioning video conferencing solution That supports WebRTC, but they want to have it on their own servers, in their own data center, in their own network, and have direct control over it. It'll support up to 300 participants. It allows people to schedule, host, and attend meetings on PC, Mac, iOS, Android devices at the same dial-in number functionality, the PSTN and VoIP. And obviously, it can be utilized either with the endpoints that people have, or it can also be integrated with the GVC series of endpoints so that we can also set up dedicated meeting rooms. Moving a little bit more into the VoIP side of things now. So remote working with the UCM series. Typically, these are utilized by business, enterprise, hospitals, schools, etc. It allows people to create a virtual communication network. It'll support remote devices, so we can provision remote extensions and put a device out in a staff member's home. We can do remote device provisioning and deployment through the web interface, so allowing us to do all that configuration and having that functionality. They support video calling and conferencing. We can obviously build VPN tunnels from home office to the UCM, whether that's sitting back in the office or in a data center, so that we can secure those voice links. We can have multiple concurrent SIP registrations, so obviously we can have multiple SIP extensions, but we can also have multiple SIP trunks heading out of the site. So depending on what type of calls we're making, we may run them out over different SIP connections out of the building. And for people that are wanting to utilize their extension on their mobile device, obviously we've got Grandstream Wave, which is our soft phone client, and we can generate a barcode for them to scan to actually set that up on their device themselves. Remote working with the GXV series. So these are our Android video phones. So these are typically aimed at remote workers, healthcare, so telehealth, government, aged care homes, and the likes. They allow video calling through both Android and SIP, and they have a 3-way video bridge built into the device itself. Not only that, we have full Android tablet functionality. So people can join meetings, attend webinars, etc., utilizing the Android functionality. They can chat with friends using popular apps. They can stay connected with Google services, obviously because it's Android. They have access to the Google Play Store. And if they really wanted to, they can even browse the web on them. But what we can do is we can create a home video conferencing endpoint. Part of the reason for that is we have both HDMI in and out. So we can use HDMI out, which means we can have the video going out to, say, a larger screen TV in the room, so that we can see what's coming from the other end on a larger screen. We have HDMI in, so that we can connect our laptop or our desktop so that we can data share or content share. We can also do wireless content sharing via Miracast if you're using a Windows laptop or a Windows PC. And we have built-in Bluetooth as well. So we can utilize them with Bluetooth headsets or Bluetooth speakers to increase the sound quality that's coming out of the actual video phone itself. And then we can also work remotely with the WP series. So the WP series is our Wi-Fi based cordless phones. We've had a model of WP820 for probably the last, getting on towards about 18 months, which was our first launch into this particular category. Now this provides the highest quality voice solution for a mobile type environment. So, and the reason that these have been so popular, the two main phones that have been popular during everyone getting ready to work from home has been the Android video phones, and then probably followed by the WP series. And the beauty of that is most phones already have Wi-Fi access in them. So straight away, we have the connection type to connect the Wi-Fi cordless phone to. They're easy to set up and they support seamless roaming. So if someone has multiple Wi-Fi access points in the house, they can roam from access point to access point and have coverage across the entire house. When I say easy to set up, essentially all you need is your SIP credentials. So the SIP server address, the username, the password, and the Wi-Fi network's SSID and password, and you're good to go. They support OpenVPN client. So again, we can secure the connection through VPN. They're lightweight and compact. So they're about the same size as a DECT phone. So very compact, very easy to carry around. Come with a belt clip. The WP820 supports Bluetooth, so you can use it with a Bluetooth headset. Has speakerphone in it. And we can also keep in touch with our co-workers on these phones though. They have 2 lines, so we can obviously, and 2 SIP accounts. So we can actually have the ability to put one call on hold while we make another, transfer calls, all these sorts of things. But we have another functionality in them called push to talk. So push to talk is a little bit like the old walkie-talkies. It allows you to make a broadcast voice call out to every other push to talk device on your network in a simplex manner. So basically meaning one party can talk at a time. Essentially, you would hit the push to talk button on the side of the phone. It will play a beep at the end point or the phone of every other phone that supports push to talk on that network or in that group. Then as soon as that beep's happened, what you're starting to say down the phone will be broadcast straight out to everyone on the speakerphone functionality of their WP phone. And then obviously the beauty of something like this is we can expand the office network with wireless voice once we all go back to the office, so we can start to increase our communication functionality in the office. Now, the new model we had in there was the WP810 that was announced a couple of weeks ago. It is the baby brother, so it's a little bit more of a simplified version. It does lose Bluetooth out of it, so it relies on a 3.5mm headset jack to run a headset out from it. However, the price point of the WP810 is down very similar to the cost of a DECT phone and a DECT base station. So I think you'll probably hear me over time affectionately refer to the WP810 as a little bit of a DECT killer, because it's bringing the quality of Wi-Fi voice down to similar pricing to DECT. But then moving into the DECT phones, there is still a market for these type of phones as well. They're an affordable wireless phone for remote workers. They allow people to roam around the home. However, take into account the coverage of a DECT phone. Typically indoors, you're getting coverage of up to about 50 meters when you're indoors. You can add repeaters and such to extend the coverage. However, just bear in mind, if you go down DECT, you will be introducing another network into that environment. They're lightweight and compact. They're easy to transport, easy to use. They have headset functionality. They have headset jacks on them. Again, we have the push to talk functionality in them. We can do ring groups and hunt groups for sales teams. We can expand the office network when we get back to the office by utilizing them as a mobile cordless device once we're in the workplace. One thing we need to remember with DECT is we need to buy a handset. So we either need to buy a DP730, a DP722, or a DP720. And we also need to buy a base station. So we either need to buy the DP750 or the DP752. So just make sure you're buying a handset and the base station, versus if you go back to the WP series, all we need to buy is the handset because we're using the Wi-Fi network to carry the call. And then we can work from home with our GRP series. Now, this is true of any of our other desk phones, but I'll use the GRP series purely because they're the newer series. So they're ideal for remote workers that want a desk-based phone. It helps to create the familiar look and feel that they have in the office. They're used to using a desk phone, so we can still provision them with a desk phone. Most homes have Wi-Fi, and all of the models in the GRP series either have Wi-Fi or have a Wi-Fi variant except one model. So that allows us, the beauty of that, again, we can put it in the home where it suits for that phone to be, not necessarily where the cabling suits, because we can connect it to the Wi-Fi network in the house. They're easy to manage remote deployments because every model has a unified version or a unified copy of firmware. So depending on which phone you put that firmware onto, it will either lock or unlock specific features of the phone. Utilizing a desk phone, we can extend presence to remote workers. So they've got virtual programmable keys, and we can start to see some presence and those sorts of things. This particular model that we've got here, the GRP2614, has a secondary, fully customizable LCD screen that we can utilize for our BLF keys or for presence. They're easy to adapt for home use because we have models that support Bluetooth. So we can either utilize them with Bluetooth headsets or connect them to Bluetooth speakers if we're needing something that will have louder volume as a speakerphone. We have dedicated endpoint hacking protection with secure boot and lockdown firmware. And so that makes them ideal for remote. And again, we're also supporting the OpenVPN client. So we're allowing to be able to provision and provide a secure voice endpoint at the staff member's house, but being able to secure it back to a VPN network. Now, the other thing that we need to consider as well, and we saw a mad rush on these particular type devices when everyone first started setting up from home, was the ATAs and gateways. Reason for that is people still utilize things like fax machines and all those sorts of things, or they may have an analog phone, or there's a whole lot of other devices, an analog multifunction center, all these sorts of things that they want to use from their home office. So one of our HT series of ATAs allows people to convert that analog device to IP network. So they will extend VoIP features to remote users stay on an analog phone. So we can start to introduce things like three-way voice conferencing, all these sorts of things. Or we can bring the fax machine into the home environment. They're easy to remotely deploy and manage. We can use either TR69 or we can use XML config. So again, we're providing an easy solution. One interesting thing about the ATAs, this is where Grandstream started from back in 2002. We started our business producing and manufacturing ATAs. We still produce millions of these to ship and ship millions of these devices annually, and we are the largest supplier globally of ATAs. Now, someone that may want to use their mobile phone, could be for when they're working at home or so that if they're going out for a walk, they're still reachable. So typically suits remote workers, teachers, delivery drivers, medical, government, whole range of environments. It allows people to make and receive VoIP calls on any Android or iOS device. It is a free app. You download it from the relevant Play Store. It supports any SIP account, and it can hold up to 6 SIP accounts in total. On the app itself, we have preloaded config settings for hundreds of service providers globally. It'll support 6-way conferencing, presence. It also does video calls. It has the functionality for that. If we're utilizing it in conjunction with the Grandstream UCM, we can generate that barcode as we spoke about earlier for the staff member. All they do is scan that barcode and it will configure the device up for them. So one important thing here is the Grandstream Wave app can be utilized with our UCM, or it can be utilized with any other SIP connection that someone may have. And then I guess let's tie all this together. So it's great to have all this device going out to staff members and to our employee team. But how do we manage all of this? So GDMS is one of our newer platform offerings, and it's designed for IT and network managers. It's a cloud provisioning, management, monitoring, and maintenance platform for Grandstream endpoints, so for our phone endpoints. Let's go through a scenario. So a remote deployment scenario. The IT admin configures the device on the GDMS portal and has the device shipped to the end user or the staff member. They don't even have to open the box to have configured it. The user, when they receive the device, connects it to their wired or wireless network, and the device will automatically go out and pick up its config file, reboot, and it is ready to be up and running with all its credentials stored in it. The UCM users, so someone that's using a Grandstream PBX, GDMS is a great tool for the ongoing management. And this is true for a lot of different scenarios, even without using a UCM. we can actually manage the end devices once they're out in the field. We don't need to set up port forwarding for remote access. We can get real-time alerts, so we can get an email if the device goes offline, and various different issues around that, which we can set the parameters for. We also have a number of maintenance tools and reports in there. We can even do things like remote troubleshooting. So let's say there's a device that's not performing as it should, or we've got an issue. We can actually hit a debug button and we can remotely capture syslogs and trace routes without even having to go to the site where that particular device is. So we can actually start to troubleshoot and manage these devices once they're out in the field, which is a very important consideration for either a workforce that has a number of people working remotely, or even from a systems integrator or an ITSP, where you may manage those devices on behalf of your customer on an ongoing basis. You can start to manage these sorts of functions remotely. Best thing about GDMS Cloud is it's a free application for people to use. Now we'll move a little bit across into the networking side. So GWN series, these are all our Wi-Fi access points. So yes, everyone's got Wi-Fi in the router from their internet provider. How good that coverage is or how well it covers the house can sometimes be questionable. So potentially it's the cheapest Wi-Fi router that was either supplied by the internet provider or that someone could have purchased previously. So what we can do is we can actually deploy a home Wi-Fi network for our remote workers. We can set up and manage those access points remotely through GWN Cloud, which again is another free cloud-based application. We can access that through the web, or we can download an application to our Android or iOS device to set up and manage those APs once they're out in the field. Obviously, the GWNs we compare with our Wi-Fi IP phones, be that desk-based or cordless. And then obviously you're going to get some little magic quads optimization in there because they're going to recognize each other. However, having said that, you can utilize the Wi-Fi phones with any Wi-Fi network that someone may have. But the beauty of these sorts of deploying these type of devices, or if you have to deploy a Wi-Fi access point to a staff member's home, once everyone moves back to the office, you can recall them back to the office. You can then use them to expand your coverage within the office. So yes, whilst initially you might have a staff member using it from home indoors, if you're needing to increase your Wi-Fi coverage outdoors, you may provision an outdoor type access point to that staff member, knowing full well that when they come back to the office, that access point's coming back, and then you can utilize that outdoors to expand your coverage of Wi-Fi into an outdoor environment, say, such as the car park. Little device that we've got down the bottom there under the GWN Cloud, the little square one, is one of our newer access points. It's called the GWN 7602. It's ideal for home offices, but also in places such as accommodation, small cafes, these types of places, because it's a Wi-Fi AP, but it also has a 4-port Ethernet switch in it. So we can either power it via a power supply or PoE. We then have one PoE out port on that device, which can power, say, an IP phone, and then we still have another couple of ports that we could use for, say, IPTV, point of sale systems, all these sorts of things. So nice, neat little device, managed through GWN Cloud, and has the ability to provision that straight away. So again, our categories were meetings and conferencing, voice and video, and networking. And we had a number of solutions sitting under each one of those. Now, if we look at some of the solutions or some of the scenarios, so let's say we look at it from a business or an enterprise environment. So the sorts of things, what might they be using? Well, they might use the IP video talk for web meetings, but then they might want to bring in some dedicated video conferencing endpoints. So then they'd use our GVC series. Remote VoIP solutions, well, we can cover them with any type of offering they want, be it a PBX that might be deployed. We can then cover it with Android video phones so that we can provide desktop video type solutions. We've got cordless phones, be they either DECT or Wi-Fi. We've got desk-based phones for that common feel and look that they're used to in the office. Then we've also got the GS Wave app, so that they can be reachable on their mobile, even if they're not sitting at their desk at home. And then obviously we've got the Wi-Fi access through our GWN access points, and we can manage all of our devices. For the phones, we can manage them through GDMS. For the access points, we can manage them through GWN Cloud. Both of those management portals are free and have the ability to not only provision the devices, but to be able to manage them once they've been provisioned. Education, we have great virtual classrooms using IP video talk, so the students can join in through IP video talk. All they need is their tablet, their laptop, their phone, and they can join straight in. The room or the classroom, as we see in the picture, which is actually in China, where they had them set up running remote classrooms. We can have a GVC endpoint sitting there. The teacher can then run the class remotely over a video conferencing solution. For staff and teachers, we can give them a remote device sitting at home so they can be reachable on a school extension. We can give them either a cordless phone, be it DECT or Wi-Fi. We can give them a desk phone, or we haven't shown it here, but we could even give them just the GS Wave app and put their extension on that. So suddenly they are reachable by both the school and also parents of the students. And then we can manage the phone devices via GDMS. Healthcare, telehealth and web staff meetings, we can provision them through a mixture of the GXV Android phones and also IP video talk, utilising the devices that people already have. If we want to go up to the next level, we can record medical procedures, or we can involve remote doctors in medical procedures using dedicated high-quality video conferencing endpoints using the GVC series. And then we can ensure that doctors and nurses are always contactable. We can provision them with GS Wave on their mobile device. So as they roam throughout the facility, they are reachable on their internal SIP extension. Or if they don't have that, or they prefer not to carry that, we can provision them with a Wi-Fi based cordless phone, which allows them to roam anywhere within that facility, so long as they have Wi-Fi coverage. If we've got external Wi-Fi access points, we can even be roaming out into the car park and just doing handover from access point to access point to fully roam across that facility. Looking at government, we've already discussed the picture on the left-hand side. So we can have formal web meetings and video conferences using a mixture of IP video talk and our dedicated GVC video conferencing endpoints. So we've got the 3210 up the top, which is ideal for smaller spaces. Going into larger spaces and full-on boardrooms, we'd look at the GVC 3200 or the 3202, which is in the middle of the screen. And then obviously we can keep remote and traveling personnel connected, again, through our Android video phones, so they can participate in video conferences or host them themselves. We've got the Grandstream Wave app, again, contactable on their own mobile device. One thing I didn't mention about the GS Wave app, the beauty of provisioning that to someone, is what it allows someone to do is use their own personal mobile device, but it allows them to make calls to their customers or external calls utilizing their Office extension. So they will ring someone utilizing their Office extension. An external party can reach them on their Office extension. And what it means is they can make these calls without necessarily having to reveal their own personal mobile number, or let's say after hours, because GS Wave relates to work, they can just ignore the calls and let them go to voicemail, pick them up next day in the morning. Or we could provision them with a Wi-Fi cordless phone or a desk phone. So I think that's given everyone a pretty good overview. I will throw open to some questions now, if people have them. So there is a question box that people can utilize, or there is just the group chat session down the side. So are there any questions from anyone? No questions as yet. I must have done a very good job with my presentation. In the IP Video Talk admin, there is a SIP trunk config. Okay, so what it means is you can obviously utilize the pre-included IP Video Talk dial-in numbers, or you can actually, in the IP Video Talk guide, there is a way that you can actually add in your own SIP trunks so that you can utilize your own SIP trunks for people to join as an audio participant. Does that answer that question for you, Grant? I've got a question of, is it HIP AA compliant? What part of that, what part of the solution are we discussing? And yes, the presentation and the video is being recorded, so we'll be able to provide that out to everyone afterwards. All right, so we've got a question around the GXVs. Yeah, I was about, no, we've got multiple questions going on here, so we'll cover these off one at a time. So HIP AA compliant, I will double check that for you on the GXVs. I'll get back to you on that one next one. Remote working, the question was, does Grandstream have their own VPN set up? For that, the best one is OpenVPN. And I've got another question of, not necessarily relating to this webinar, but do we know when training will be available for Grandstream? Biggest thing at the moment is because of the social distancing. At the moment, we're able to run basic level training, so like our GCS training, which is more around features and benefits. Yes, we can definitely run them as a webinar type conference and be able to do that. When it comes to the configuration side, they're typically done as a face-to-face. So for those, we will more than likely have to wait until all the social distancing side has started to subside a little bit, because that actually requires people to have the equipment in front of them and be doing the configuration as part of that training session. We've got a question. We've got a question around the GXV 3240s, which is one of our older models. I'll come back to you with the answer on that particular question. Any further questions from people? No, no further questions by the looks. Will there be a demo of GDMS? We can arrange a separate webinar around that. I'll have a chat to Alloy around that and potentially scheduling in a session around that as well. So we might do a webinar focused more around GDMS, and as part of that, we'll do a live demo. And I'll come back to you on separately on your question mark around the GS Wave and the particular ports that it requires. Any further questions from everyone? No, it looks like we've got to the end of the questions. So I'll thank everyone for their time. I will be making a recording of this webinar available to Alloy. So I'm sure they'll be able to get that out to everyone and share that with everyone. There will be an email that will come out after this webinar. What I will include in that is a link to a survey. I'd appreciate if people can take a couple of minutes to just fill out that survey. And as part of that survey, we'll actually be asking for what people would like to see webinars on in the future, so that we can start to tailor them more to the type of information that the people are after. So I'll give one last call for questions. If there's no more, then I'll end today's webinar, and I'll thank everyone for your time in taking the time out of your day. No, looks like we're all done. So thank you everyone for your time. I wish you the best for the rest of your day, and look forward to having you on with the next webinar. Thank you.